What is going on, guys? This is Ken. Today I will be doing my comparison video between the second generation Nexus 7 2013 version and the 2012 version first generation original Nexus 7. I will be comparing pretty much everything: specs, hardware, design, display, and a lot more. So let's go ahead and get started and help you choose which tablet is right for you. First, let's go ahead and begin with the design and the hardware comparison between these two tablets. So first, let's take a look at the first generation Nexus 7. On the back of the Nexus 7, you can see the textured finish has a lot of dots on it, and it feels really nice in the hand, has a grip rubberized finish. So if you hold it with one hand, it's not going to easily slip out of your hand. Let's take a look at the second generation Nexus 7 here. Very similar material here. I think it's the same material. It has the same rubberized grip finish, but it doesn't have any of these dots anymore. But it still feels really comfortable to hold. So if you hold it with one hand, just like the first generation Nexus 7, it's not going to easily slip out. If you compare the two, the second generation Nexus 7 is actually a bit narrower, so it's even easier to hold with one hand. The first generation Nexus 7 feels a little bit heavier compared to the new model. The second generation is also a bit thinner, but it's not really noticeable. If you take a look at the first generation Nexus 7, at the bottom you can see the micro USB port and the headphone jack. You will also find the front-facing camera. Right beside it you'll see the ambient light sensor. Taking a look at the second generation Nexus 7, you can see the micro USB port right here at the bottom, but there's no headphone jack. The headphone jack is now moved to the top, so it's right here at the top of the second generation. You will also find, I believe, the same front-facing camera on the second generation. Right beside that, or right above it, you will find the ambient light sensor. The second generation added a notification light right here. I'm pretty sure that you can't see it on camera. So if you receive any messages or notifications, this light will light up. On the back of the second generation, you will find a 5 megapixel camera which shoots 1080p HD 30 frames per second videos. On the first generation, you can see a chrome or a silver bezel around the edges of the screen, but on the second generation, the entire tablet is black. Now let's take a look at the display quality between these two tablets. On the first generation Nexus 7, you will find a 1280 by 800 IPS screen, which is equivalent to 216 pixels per inch. On the second generation, you will find a 1920 by 1200 HD screen with 323 pixels per inch. So the second generation Nexus 7 is the tablet with the highest PPI on the market right now. If you look at these two tablets side by side, you can tell a pretty big difference. So the second generation Nexus 7 obviously has a lot more pixels, so you can't see any pixels on the second gen, but on the first generation it's still really clear. Still has a lot of pixels, but you can still see some differences between these two. My camera can't go that close because I don't have a macro lens. So here we're taking a look at some pictures between these two tablets. From what I can tell, there's a pretty big difference between these two screens. On the second generation, you can see the darker green or the dark colors are a lot more darker, but on the first generation, it seems a lot more brighter, and just some white colors are just washed out. So the second generation definitely has rich colors compared to the first generation. These are just some of the pictures that I took inside my garden. And apparently Google claims that the second generation Nexus 7 has 30% more colors compared to the previous generation. I'm not sure if you can tell the difference on camera on the video. As you can see here, the grass is kind of yellow, but here the grass is more green. Just some minor differences between these two. Now I'm going to tell you the specs and the price of these two tablets. So the first generation Nexus 7, you can get it for $199 for the 16 gigabytes or you can get their 32 gigabytes for, I believe, $230 or something like that. But I think you can get the first generation for a lot cheaper now because the second generation has come out. So you can get the second generation 16 gigabytes for $230. I'll put all the links in the description if you want to purchase it. For the 32 gigabyte, you can get it for $269. You can also get the 32 gigabyte LTE version of the second generation for over $300, I think. So the Nexus 7 second generation or the first generation is a budget tablet, but it still packs a lot of really high-end specs. So now let's go ahead and talk about the specs inside these two tablets. So the second generation has 2 gigabytes of RAM, while the first generation only has 1 gigabyte. The first generation is running on the NVIDIA Tegra 3 quad-core 1.2 gigahertz processor. It's running on Android 4.3 at the moment. On the second generation, you will get the Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Pro 1.5 gigahertz processor. Now let's take a look at the performance between these two tablets. I'm going to run the Geekbench test and see what the score is between these two. So here you can see some of the system information here. Let's go ahead and run the Geekbench test. On the first generation, the Geekbench score came out to be 1,566. But on the second generation, it came out to be 2,685. So it's a pretty big difference and way better than the first generation. I'm going to compare this to other big tablet competitors such as the iPad mini. The second generation way surpasses the iPad mini. I believe the iPad mini only came out to be 750 or something around that. So the second generation Nexus 7 has really high Geekbench score compared to many other tablets on the market right now. Now I'm going to run a different benchmark test. This time I'm going to run the Antutu benchmark. So the score on the second generation came out to be 18,386. On the first generation, the score came out to be 12,538. So here's a little comparison. The first generation is way down here. Here's the second generation. The second generation came out to be 4th, just right below the Sony Xperia Z. And of course, the Samsung Galaxy S4 and the HTC One is right up on the top. Now let's go ahead and watch a few YouTube videos. Here's my channel. Let's go ahead and watch my desk tour video. So there is a clear winner here. The second generation is a lot faster. And both of them are streaming in HD. I'm currently on theverge.com and now let's do a test of the browser. So I'm just going to refresh the page here. So the pictures loaded a lot faster on the second generation, while the first generation pictures loaded a bit slower. Both of these Nexus 7 are now powered off. I'm going to power it on and see which one is faster to boot up. So this basically concludes my comparison video between the second generation and the first generation original Nexus 7. If you guys enjoyed this comparison, please give this video a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel for future videos. So thanks a lot for watching this video once again. I will see you guys in my next video.